Pew, 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 pew. Oh, hi there. Let's finally continue with our space music project that I've started after I got inspired by the original soundtrack of the game Starfield. In case you haven't seen that first video, the link is in the show notes. And now after we finished writing the music, or the essential part of the music, it's time to start producing. But what does producing actually mean? Well, when I write music, I just try to capture a moment and follow an initial idea or musical vision, however you want to call it. And producing means to listen to the music with a fresh pair of ears and making the decisions about the parts and the arrangement and so on that seem to be right in order to meet the initial idea I had. Does that make sense? Better let's get to work. My first decision here is to have more room in the arrangement, so I select all the parts and move them a good amount to the right. This way it's much easier to rearrange everything. Just a quick reminder that this is a piece of soundtrack-ish or soundtrack-like music that doesn't need to strictly follow the typical 4-bar form of normal pop music. Anyway, I like to build such tracks piece by piece, bar after bar, from beginning to start, and that's why I need a little bit more room in the project. What bothers me the most is this noisy drone part here, which is the foundation of our whole composition. It's basically okay, but later in the track, when the harmonies change here, it starts to sound really messy. Hear that? I think I want to have more control over the sound. In the other video I've told you that the drone is in E and that it should work with the other harmonies as well, but in reality I'm not happy. So just let's put this audio file into a sampler track and edit the hell out of it. Wait, what? Don't worry, working with samplers isn't rocket science, at least not in Cubase. Not sponsored. I open the lower section and change it to sample editor, then I move the audio file into the sampler and that's it. Cubase also created a new sampler track at the end of the track list. I move it to the top just to have it inside, and I also can mute the original audio track because we don't need it anymore. So what's the point with sampler tracks? Well, I can now play our formerly static drone sound on the keyboard like it's a normal instrument, even with chord changes and everything. But in order to make it work really well, I need to set it up. First I tell the sampler that our root note is E, so that I can play the correct keys. E, okay. Let's also look for a good start and ending point. Maybe here. I think I like it because of its percussive attack. Set the ending point not too far away. Oh, cool. A little longer. And I need to set up loop points as well. For that I go to loop mode and set it to alternate. Now I'll grab this L marker here and start the looping point. The end point is okay. Now when I hit a key, the sample always plays from the start, but when it reaches the loop area, it stays within that and goes back and forth because I set it to alternate. It's not too bad. Listen carefully. When it changes direction, oh, it's really good. Yeah, it's really not that bad, but sometimes it's the case that you can really hear when the sampler changes the direction, and you don't want that because it sounds a little bit ugly, like a little cut or something. To avoid that, we can set up a crossfade, just a tiny one. So what's a crossfade? When you have two audio parts directly next to each other, it will very likely create an audible cut, in the best case. And in the worst case, it will create a really ugly cracking sound, like I'm sure you've heard something like that before. And so you want to lengthen the parts to make them overlap, and then add a fade in to the one part and to the other part a fade out, and that's a crossfade. But now let me finally record the drone part with our new sample track sound. One of my favorite methods of producing is to turn myself into a normal listener. This means I play the song from the beginning, and every time something's wrong or missing, I stop and try to do something about it. Well, okay, let's do that. Okay, and stop. I already have the idea that we could use more weight under this drone pad in the beginning. We already have this analog pad later in the transition between the pre-melody and the main melody. But for that part, I have another idea already. So you see, it's very creative still, a process of trial and error and testing things. I found this sound here, deep pad. Just a little effect or something. Also, the starting point is a little bit weird. The starting point of the drone, as you can see. But we will let this part fade in anyway. Okay, let's continue. That's good, but I stopped again because we need to do something about this pre-melody. Maybe it's a good idea to let it come in from deep space, out of nothing, you know, and not so abrupt like it is. And to do that, we will add a little bit of automation. Normally, I try to avoid adding automation that early in the process because I still haven't set all the levels right, and it can be quite annoying to change all the automation parameters later. But hey, first world problems, right? Just let me lengthen the first and the last notes of that pre-melody part. Even a little bit more. And add a rubber band automation to it. This little button opens the automation tracks, and with the little plus sign here, you can add even more automation stuff. There's a long list of possibilities, but I will make a dedicated video about it, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to not miss that, okay? So let's see how it turns out. Our little automation here. typical rubber band automation. Nice. Very cool, but I already hate this new deep pad thing that I've added here. I think I hate it so much that I delete it. Such things I can do anytime. It's no big deal. There's no reason to keep things in your music that you don't like. Great, but I already hear the next thing in my inner ear. Do you remember this Numb Bass? I think it can start a little bit earlier in the song. And yes, I have another idea that I can probably delete a little later again. But let's record it anyway. Yes, I played it freely without the click track, and I know it's getting slower over time, and that's exactly what I wanted to do, because, you know, another weird idea of mine. My idea is to bring the drone parts down while the numb bass slows down and the pre-melody disappears. And then the last numb bass note will go like whoom. You know? And the main melody comes out of that, together with the deep analog pad bass. I think this will give this track a more epic spaceship character right at the start. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping for. So let's listen. I know that it's not perfect so far, but the idea is, remember, to capture the moment, to capture the ideas, only because it's not working right in the first try. It doesn't mean it's bad. Just stick with it, work it out. So I just looked for an aggressive sound. Found it here in the Hellion. Remember, we only use preset sounds in this project, just to challenge me a little bit more. And I've added a big reverb, something like that, and rendered it out. Tried to tweak it a little bit. So the basic idea, I think, could be really nice, but I think the fade out here is a little bit too long. And maybe we can bring in the analog pad a little bit later or slower. And the numb bass sound itself can use some tweaking as well. What is it anyway? It's the Retrolog 2, a very good stock synthesizer, stock plugin here in Cubase. But at this early stage of the production, I normally don't do, like I've said, automation and also really deep sound tweaking. I do that later. First, I want to make sure that the track is working, that the arrangement is working, and the main instruments and parts are working together. So you can see it takes a long time working on such a project. Although I must say, I'm really slow right now. I'm really slow because I'm filming and talking and explaining. Normally, I love working within a time frame. Let's say I really try to focus for 2 hours or so, something like that. That's a good way. If you don't have much time, you can really say, okay, let's do it 2 hours or 1 hour can be enough. When you really focus, you can really get things done. And when you continue that for a couple of days, you will absolutely make some noticeable progress. And that's my plan for the next part of this space music project here, that I've finished everything so far that we can make a rough mix together. What do you think? And most importantly, you see that producing music is a complicated task. It takes a lot of experience to finish a project. But if you ask me if you're going to finish a project or not, is your decision. So I've decided to finish this project because I believe in it. I think it will be great. Also, we can make more fun videos like this. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like before you go. My name is Marcus. You've been watching The Ground Noise. I thank you very much and hope to see you soon in the next video.